Purchase your tracks today.
gon' save the babies from another bloody Sunday. I'm singing Mayday, Mayday. They love me or they hate me for my skin color, but you say I am your brother.
The government keep lying to me, telling me that they come to set the people free. But the power falls when you catch us on the knees. Heaven please, we're in a state of emergency. See, we need a strong God, yeah. We need the real God, yeah.
Well, good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to another edition of Can We Talk? This is what we're calling the Black History edition of Can We Talk, and I'm teaching and sharing from a topic entitled Christ, Color, and the Culture. Now, before we jump into this, please do me a favor, as you often do. Would you share this? Would you like this? Would you tag somebody? This is one of those conversations, man, that I believe will be beneficial to us all. So just get as many people as you can to join us as we talk from this very important conversation. Tonight's episode, I'm titling it, Skinfolk Ain't Always Kinfolk. Skinfolk ain't always kinfolk. Tonight, man, I want to take a few moments and have a discussion about the fact that in life, sometimes the worst pain can come from people we least expect it to come from. What do you mean, Pastor? Well, you know, we're talking about Black History Month, and so of course we're highlighting the history, the things that we as Black people have done to help this nation. But this month is just a smaller sample of a bigger reality, right? Because it's not just talking about Black people. We can put in different genders. We can put in different cultures. When I talk about sometimes the worst pain coming from a place you least expect it to come from the most, what I'm talking about is when we're hurt from somebody who looks like us, somebody who comes from where we come from, somebody to whom you think would have more understanding because they know or they should know what it's like to be you. In those instances, we expect more, but unfortunately, we don't always receive more. What do you mean, Pastor? Well, I'm a Black man. I think we established that. I hope we have now. Sometimes people think I'm Spanish. You know, I've had people come to me and start speaking Spanish, and I'm just like, no say. That's all I got. But I am a Black man and proud to be one, right? And as a Black man, there's something that I and other Black brothers tend to do when we see another man that looks like us. And it's something called the head nod, right? For those that don't know what the head nod is, that's the head nod right there. Y'all see that? So when you see another brother, we tend to say hello by just throwing him the head nod, right? Now, the reason why we do that is because without saying the word, we see somebody who we feel we identify with. We see somebody who, without even knowing their name, we assume that they understand our struggle. We assume that they know what it's like to be a Black person in America. Now, by throwing the head nod, what it's really doing is saying, I'm in a safe space, right? Because often when you see somebody who comes from where you come from, you automatically assume that they understand what you're going through, which ought to mean that you're safe from harm, right? It says that, oh, I can disarm myself now. It says that I don't have to be so on guard because you get me, you understand me. But unfortunately, sometimes in taking down our guards because we feel like we're safe, we might find out that we took down our guards and got hit and got hurt from somebody who we thought would never hurt us. In America, there's this phrase that's often used when a Black person commits a crime against another Black person, and it's called Black on Black crime. Now, the problem with this phrase is that very often it's used to minimize the crimes committed against black people versus the crimes that are committed against black people by people who are not black, right? What people begin to say is, why are you so upset if somebody commits a crime against a person of color who's not a person of color when you guys are always committing crimes against yourselves? You've heard people say that before. Now, can I help dispel some of that tonight, if you don't mind? Because the truth of the matter is, if you want to use the phrase black on black crime, then we need to understand that in every culture, in every color, the people who are most likely to be victims of crime are crimes that are committed by people either in their same culture, their same color, or in their same proximity, right? What am I saying? That you're most likely to be a victim of a crime by people who are closest to you, right? Because if you look at the facts, crimes committed against Italians are higher by Italians, right? But we don't talk about Italian on Italian crime. We don't talk about white on white crime. We don't talk about Asian on Asian crime. But if you look at the facts, you'll see that their statistics are higher in crimes committed against themselves. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. Even though those facts are true, it doesn't take away the fact that when somebody harms you, when you become a victim of somebody, it's wrong either way. But it feels a little extra wrong when it's coming from somebody whom you never thought would hurt you. Let me give you an example of this. Unfortunately, many of us by now have seen the video of Tyree Nichols, right? And what made this really such a wow or a crazy moment to people of color was that we heard the crime, but none of us expected to see the picture of 5 black police officers being the ones who committed that crime. Now, I don't have time to talk about there was another Caucasian officer who was not put on blast like those 5 and fired as quick as those 5, but that's another topic. But these 5 guys shocked us to think that that black man could be so brutally beaten and even murdered at the hands of 5 other men who, without a uniform, you would have thought that they were all one group, right? If you saw all 6 of them together, without the uniform, there was nothing that says these 5 were police officers and this one would be the victim of those 5. Now, when I studied or researched some of what really happened, what's been said is that they pulled Tyree over for what they believe was reckless driving. Reckless driving. But when you look at the video, you see the real issue was not Tyree's reckless driving, but rather the 5 officers' reckless behavior, right? That how in the world do you pull over a man who was really close to home and treat him so viciously? You know what's crazy is that we wouldn't even treat animals sometimes the way we treat humans, and unfortunately, the way black people have been treated from the time we entered this nation. But in this video, it's not just what happens there, it's the fact that what happens there, it almost highlights something that has happened too long. And it raises the question, why is it so easy for us to hurt those who look like us? Now, I'm not saying that we should harm or hurt anyone regardless of their skin color, but you would think that it would be easier to offer grace to somebody who understands your pain. You would think that it would be easier to want to protect those who've been afflicted in the same manner that you've been afflicted. Why is it so easy for us to hurt somebody that looks like us? I'm thinking about what happens when black people as a whole feel like injustice has just been too much. Oftentimes, what happens, and we saw this happen over and over again, is that they start to riot. right? They start to riot. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I understand the motivation that makes people want to riot. Even Dr. King said that riots are the language of the unheard, right? When people feel like nobody's listening, then they tend to do something, whether that's good or bad, to get someone else's attention. Now, while I understand why black people will riot because they feel unheard, what I don't understand is why do we burn down our own communities? Now, again, I'm not saying that burning or destroying any community is right, but you would think that when a people feel like they've been done wrong, that if they're gonna inflict some type of riot, it wouldn't be on people who are suffering the same harm. I mean, when a person has a black-owned business, he sees the video and he's crying too. But now he no longer has the luxury of just crying at the video. He's crying at the video, but then he's crying because he's lost his business. And then the people who we're mad at get to go home sleeping because at least their businesses have not been destroyed. Again, please hear me and hear me good. I'm not saying that rioting or causing harm is ever the right answer, but a question still must be asked. How is it so easy when we're mad at another group of people to do harm to people that live in our community? I want to read something to you. And this is found in Psalms 55, right? Just notice it's not Bible study, but listen, I'm going to pass this. I'm going to give a little bit of Bible. How about that? Well, Psalms 55, verses 12 through 13. I want you to hear what David says. This is the New Living Translation. David said, "It is not an enemy who taunts me. If it were, I could bear that. It's not my foes who so arrogantly insult me. I could have just hidden from them." But verse 13, he says, "Instead, it's you, my equal, my companion, my close friend." David said, I knew how to protect myself against somebody who I saw as an enemy. Because when an enemy shows up, my guards go up. But when a friend shows up, when somebody who I thought understood my pain shows up, I didn't even think twice to put up my guards because I thought I was in a safe place. This term, skinfolk, not always being kinfolk, well, what it comes from is the mindset that if we have the same skin color, somehow we are related, right? And listen, I think there's a lot of truth to that because anywhere I travel in this country, I find cousins that I did not know. Amen. I mean, I got cousins all over America, right? But another notion of that is that when you hear the word kinfolk or you see skinfolk, you naturally start to treat skinfolk like they are kinfolk. And when I hear this word kinfolk, I'm laughing because I don't know if some of you guys saw a movie, this is, I don't know how many years ago, called Johnson Family Vacation, right? It starred Cedric the Entertainer, Vanessa Williams was in it. And there was a scene because they were headed down to the Johnson family reunion. And when they got there was a dude who showed up and he would say, "Kinfolk, kinfolk," right? And so what he was doing was he was using his status as family to disarm them so that he could get something from them. He wasn't calling them kinfolk because he was using that as an opportunity to embrace them. He was actually using that phrase as an opportunity to disarm them. Because when you keep watching the movie, you see that he was trying to get some money from them, right? Well, in the same way, when I see skinfolk, what I expect to feel is kinfolk, right? I expect to feel like you may not know me, but you know my struggle. You may not know my name, but we have so much in common. You may not even come from the same place I come from, but it doesn't take long to realize that if you are black in America, we all share a common experience. And sometimes it's not until tragedy happens that we begin to realize that we have more in common than what we think. And so what am I saying tonight? What I'm saying is that I've learned, like David, that unfortunately, I just can't assume, right? I just can't assume that because we are skin folk, it makes us kinfolk. It means that I have to now love everybody, but also treat everybody with the same type of love as well as caution, right? Doesn't mean that I walk around on edge. Doesn't mean that I walk around in fear. It just means that I don't put unrealistic expectations on people who have not earned the right to get my trust without boundaries or without limits. But here's what I wish we would do. Here's what I want us to do. I wish that we would come to the place that we would really become kinfolk. Because whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're a man or a woman, what you realize is that as human beings, we all share in some of the same experiences. We all love, we all cry when we hurt, we all laugh when it's time to laugh, and we all get excited when something great happens. Because in reality, you may not be black, but if you're human, you're kinfolk. And so let's try to be not just kinfolk, but let's act like family. Because I believe that in the end, if we just loved everybody right, then we won't have to be skin folk in order to become kinfolk. Hope that blessed you tonight, amen. Keep tuning in. We're gonna go some places in this series. Keep watching, keep sharing, and just keep looking up. We love you. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye-bye.